Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and I'm back with another episode of Horizons Author Lounge. And I'm super excited. I'm excited every week, really. I mean, we're really going to be real, but I really love it when we have great guests, and we have guests who are just doing things a little differently and out of the box. And this one specific guest that we're going to start off with, I'm telling you, he has been doing some amazing things. If you are not following him on Instagram, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. I want you, without any further ado, to meet author Ty Jackson. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Rhonda. Thanks for letting me hang out with you today.
Well, I am glad to have you. I am glad to have you, and it's going to be a great. I already know it's going to be a great conversation because you always start off with such great energy, and I appreciate that.
Oh, that's very, very kind. Let's go. Let's bring it.
All right, now. So before we get started, tell the people, in case they've been under a rock, who Ty Jackson is.
Well, I'm not above the rock status yet, but I'm still under the rock in a few places. But I'm honored to be a children's book author, a motivational speaker, a dad of technically six. It was three biological, but three other children adopted me, so I'm very fortunate to be their dad as well. And just overall, a really grateful, happy person, which ultimately is, I think, everybody's goal, regardless of whatever title you have or whatever, genre you work in. I mean, ultimately, you just want to have a good quality life, and I have just that.
That's awesome. But now, what made you decide to start writing children's books?
Well, it all happened about 15 years ago. I was in corporate sales and had a very decent job, but it was just a job. And then one hot summer's day, my son asked me a question that would change my life. And he simply said, Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand? And so he made $50 selling lemonade and said, Dad, what am I going to do with this 50 bucks? And I'm like, I don't know. So I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach my son about what to do with his $50. And I couldn't find one. So I thought maybe I could write one. The name Danny Dollar just popped in my head. I went home and started writing. It took me a year to finish writing the story. And then after submitting it to 147 agents and being rejected 147 times, I decided to write it myself. And 2 years later, my book came to life. That's a copy of it right here.
Oh,
And up to this date, I sold about 150,000 copies of this book. I sold about 250,000 of my books overall. And now I get to tour the country talking to children about the power and the importance of reading.
wow, that's quite a story. And that I think that your story is kind of the dream story for a lot of new authors.
Mhm.
But I'm sure that this isn't something that happened by accident. You put a lot of work into it.
Oh, no, I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in destiny. I believe that you put forth whatever energy you need to be successful in life, and that energy will be a reflection of the results of whatever it is that you're trying to receive. So yes, a lot of hard work and a lot of ingenuity. I discovered really early that bookstores, big and small, could really care less about my books. So I had to find creative and unconventional ways to get my books out there. I'm using social media as a tool to be able to market myself and brand myself as an author who really promotes the importance of reading, but also doing it through joy and positivity. And that's one of the reasons why I've been successful, because I don't think I just create quality books. I think I create a persona and an energy that people gravitate to.
And I've seen that. I've seen a lot of your Instagram videos where you almost really don't promote your books on your Instagram. You promote the joy of reading and the joy of togetherness and the joy of family. And oh, by the way, I happen to be a children's book author.
There you go. And that's part of the unconventionalness of what it is that I do. I think that if I'm constantly promoting my books, it seems self-serving. But if I emphasize why books are important, why family is important, why it's essential that we use books as a tool to empower, to educate, to love, that why I think creates a greater umbrella of love and promise for our kids and for our family, because we all want our family to succeed. We all want our children to grow and prosper. And so I think if I just say buy my book, buy my book, buy my book all the time, it
Yeah.
doesn't create as it doesn't create a selflessness of what my real agenda is. And that's just to empower our young people. It's just for our families to unite. It's just for people to use books as a tool to be able to better themselves. And so, I emphasize greatly, much more greater on the why than the actual what.
Wonderful. So, what is the age range for your typical audience?
So my books are gravitated to elementary students. I have two picture books that will go from like pre-K to second grade, and then my other books are third, fourth, and fifth, or sixth grade, depending upon how far your elementary school goes. I do get often asked if I'll write for older kids or for adults, and I don't think so. I think there's a magic for young people when they're discovering books for the first time. I think we've all found that book that kind of like sparked something inside of us. And I think the younger you find that spark, the more it'll convert you into a reader for life. So I like that newness of when a child discovers a book that
Yeah,
kind of shifts the narrative on what books can and will do for them. So and you find that for me, I find that in elementary school.
I'll tell you, I've always loved reading, but the book that stands out most for me that really made me fall in love with reading and I started finding everything was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yeah. Did you see that book? I think that movie came out a year or so
Yes.
ago. Yeah, I didn't see the movie, but I heard it was great.
Yeah, I did see the movie, but it doesn't hold a candle to the book.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a book in life that is inferior or that is inferior to the movie. The books are always you read the book and then you see the movie. The book is always better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, if we can go back a little bit, and you talked about thinking out of the box with promoting your books, and you were able to sell 500,000 copies of your books. How many books do you have now?
I have 6 books.
You have 6 books. You've sold 500,000 copies. And do you sell any of them in traditional bookstores?
Sure. I'm in a few Barnes and Nobles and in small bookstores around the country, and it's 250,000. I haven't got to the 500,000 mark yet,
Okay,
but I'm working on it. I want
I'm
to have
speaking it into
some
existence.
humility. There you go. I like that. But I bookstores make up a very very small percentage of my overall sales. The far majority of my sales go to institutions. For example, two of my books promote financial literacy. Well, who would find that of interest? Banks, credit unions, investment centers. So I reach out to those organizations. I just had a credit union in Maryland buy 4,000 copies of my book.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
and just this morning, I had youth organization that promotes financial literacy in North Carolina. They just purchased 100 copies of my book. So it makes greater business sense to find these institutions that are like-minded and whose topics I kind of tackle along with them, for them to use my books as a tool to motivate and push their agenda of inspiring the people in their community. So to worry about bookstores that are going to sell 2, 3 copies, they want a much higher percentage, and then there's issues with returns, issues with shipping. I just rather work with institutions that have the capability of buying hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of copies, and then I also work on their behalf to promote the importance of reading to those institutions. So not only do they get to buy my books, they hire me to speak on their behalf on why this book matters to them. So that's one of the reasons why I've been sustainable in this business and why this is what I do full time and it's not my side hustle.
Wow. So selling that many books, of course, and I mean, I'm sure it takes a lot of work, so that's got to be full time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't do this part time, but I also think that, we very often will sacrifice our time, effort, and energy for our corporate offices or for whatever businesses or corporations that we work for. But many of us, not say fail, but just don't realize that we can take that exact same energy and just project it towards whatever dreams and aspirations we have for ourselves. And so I cashed in all my chips on me, and so far it's paid off.
Wonderful. So now, when you promote your books to these organizations and these businesses, do you have? Because what I do is I usually create one sheets for people, and I tell them this is a way that they can promote themselves because everybody doesn't have time to read a full media kit, but they can read one sheet of paper. So, do you do something like that, or do you have a actual pitch that you do?
Well, I have a team that works with me that goes out and will solicit these institutions, but a lot of these institutions find me. I worked with the city of Jacksonville 2 years ago. They bought 10,000 copies of one of my books, and they found me honestly through Instagram. So there are multifaceted ways that you can get discovered. I think it's about emphasizing your why, being really strong about your message, make sure your branding and marketing is strong and secure. Also, building a great product. I can pitch as much as I want, but if I have an inferior product that I didn't even
Yep.
take seriously, then other institutions are not going to take this seriously. So, like I've spent tens of thousands of dollars to bring my books to life, and because I took my work seriously, people take me seriously. So,
Absolutely.
but I also have programs around these books. For example, one of my books titled "Make Your Own Money." I created a program called the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair. And the Entrepreneur Fair is exactly like a science fair, except substitute science for entrepreneurship.
Nice.
And we started it 2 years ago with 50 students. This year, over 3,000 students will participate in the fair in 6 different states. In fact, 2 days from now, I'll be in Mississippi promoting the Entrepreneur Fair with students there. So it's not just about the books itself. It's about how I can make an infrastructure around the books that assist schools and educational centers in encouraging and promoting literacy and financial literacy to the children of their community.
I think that's great, and this is something that I often tell my clients that when you write your book, you're not just an author, and you're no longer just a person behind the scenes. You have a business now, and it's
Absolutely.
important to promote your book as a business. It's not just about buy my book, but what kind of programs can you build around it? Like you actually, well, I don't know what came first. You tell me. Did the TEDx speaking come first, or did the books come first?
Yeah, the books came first,
Okay.
and then shortly after, Ted approached me and asked would I be interested in talking about this path of authorship and why reading is important. And those are some of the other accolades that I've been able to accumulate that give me the credibility to go out amongst you know schools and educational centers and colleges and even jails and talk about the power of reading. So I'm very fortunate. I've done 3 TED talks, and I can't wait to do my fourth at some point.
That is wonderful. So you've built an entire platform just because your child said that they wanted to start a business. They a lemonade stand.
That's it. And now he wants 10% of everything I make. So he might have,
Yes.
yeah, that's right. He's taking this character to heart.
So speaking of characters, are any of the characters in your books based on your children?
No, I mean the interest and the spark originally came from them, but you'll be surprised or maybe not so surprised because I was just talked about this earlier today. So my character Danny Dollar is pretty much just the reincarnation of a character named Alex P. Keaton. Remember the show Family Ties? Yeah, so I really just modeled my character Danny Dollar after him. He even has this very adversarial relationship with his sister in the book. But my other book, The Super Duper Kid, also has a very adversarial relationship with his sister, and I mimic that off of Roger and Dee from the show What's Happening.
Yes.
So all I did was just kind of like repurpose and utilize characters that were important to me when I was a kid growing up, and kind of reinvent them, gave them a new name, gave them a new character. But the foundation of those are cemented in characters that I beloved when I was a kid.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You are a true Gen Xer because you watched all the TV shows I watched as a
Okay, absolutely.
kid. Love it. Love it. So, what are you doing now? Are you working on any new books?
So on my most recent book, Make Your Own Money, my all my books are self-published except this one, which is great because I actually got noticed by a really reputable publishing company, and they asked me to write a spin-off of my first book, and that's this book here, Make Your Own Money. And this book has done so well that they want me to write a second book. I literally just got to go ahead this morning to start working on a new book titled "Hey Kids, Start Your Own Business," to like give kids a blueprint on how they can start their own business, not wait till they're an adult. Very often, kids are asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" But very few of them are asked, "What would you like to do right now?" Like, if you
Mm,
could start a business right now, what would that business be? And just giving them that type of insight and perspective and permission that they could start their own business right now is gold. It just makes them like, wait a minute, I could do that right now? Absolutely. Whether it's a lemonade stand, whether it's mowing lawns or braiding hair or an idea for a new invention, absolutely kids can do that now. And so that's kind of my big project that I'm doing. Like I said, I'll be in Mississippi next week, and I'll be in Massachusetts and Albany, New York next month, working with students on the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair.
so, how can organizations reach out to you? Let's say somebody's watching this right now and they're like, hey, I need him to come talk to my kids. Do they have to go through your website? Can they contact you through Instagram? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I'm not hard to find. Like, all you got to do, like, whether I'm on every social media platform that you can imagine, Instagram and LinkedIn are probably my two primary ones. But my website, you can certainly go on and request a speaking engagement or order my books. But you can also visit me on Instagram. That's kind of my primary social media outlet. But yeah, I'm not hard to find.
All right. Okay, now don't say that and people start reaching out to you and they're like, I couldn't find him. He didn't answer me.
Oh, no, no, no. I answer every single one. I mean, I answer you,
You
like
did. You
I
did.
did. No, no. Instagram, listen, if you are not utilizing social media as a tool to push your business agenda, whatever forward, then you're just not going to be as successful. There's no getting around it. 50 years ago it was newspapers and 30 years ago it was radio. And now those things are obsolete. Social media is now the way that we communicate. And so if you're not using that as the tool, the most powerful tool for branding, marketing, and communicating that there is, then you're missing out.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want people to think that they. I'm not going to say that they're doing something wrong, but that they can't get there. They may be working on their brand, and they may feel that they have phenomenal products, but they haven't been able to get out there or get that big break. What is some of that advice that you would give to them?
One, to keep the reader in mind. I think people write books very selfishly. They
Mm,
write about their own story and their own agenda and their own message, and they centralize it so much that they don't make it interesting for the rest of the population. Like, your story may be interesting to you, but it may not necessarily be interesting, or more importantly, marketable to other people. Everybody has an interesting story. Not everybody has a marketable story. So realize it's essential for you to make your story, while it may be about you and your story and your path, you have to write it in a way that it matters to other people and it's not just self-centered. The other thing is that you also have to make sure that you invest in your product, because you can judge a book by its cover. Because if you just went to Staples and got it put together, I'm sorry, businesses, stores, and people are not going to take your book seriously. The other part is that you also have to realize that you are the most important tool in marketing and promoting your book. So if you're going to be shy and bashful and not get yourself out there, then you're just going to lose to somebody who will. So don't be afraid to get yourself out there on social media, and whatever that means. You don't have to dance and sing and do all of this stuff. Sometimes if you're just, utilize whatever strength you have. If you're great at photography, use that. If you're great at prose, then write that. If you're great at speaking or whatever, then use that. But make sure that you're using, that you're exposing yourself and emphasizing your why you created this book, so that it resonates with people whose whys are also similar.
Very good answer. Now, and I've seen some of your Instagram videos, and a lot of times they're very simple. It just could be a matter of you sitting in your car or sitting at the table. So when those videos happen, is does something just pop into your mind and say, "Let me just shoot this video very quickly," or are you very intentional about where you shoot?
It's both. Like, sometimes an idea will just pop into my head and I just go in my car. And I go in my car because it's quiet and the lighting is good. Like, the lighting here is not so great. So I go in my car where the lighting is much better. People are like, why are you always talking in your car? I'm like, it's quiet and the lighting's awesome. Like, that's all I need. And so is the sound and the ambience. But keep it really simple. Like, like don't overthink it, or more importantly, just utilize whatever strength you have. If you love to dance or sing, then use that. If you love to write, then use that. If you got kids and they're cute and they want to be in your videos, then use that. But most of my topics are topics that I've discovered as I'm traveling and I'm speaking to kids, and I see, all kids are just want to be seen and heard. And
Yes.
I think that we kind of miss that, that they want our time, they want our attention, they want our love, they want our structure. And I think what I do as far as, talking about children, I'm just reminding all parents, just some of the things that we may forget, or some of the things we may not have been introduced to ourselves when we were younger, of just listening to our kids. I mean, they're just little people, just like we were, and they just want to be loved and seen and understood. And so part of what I do is just to kind of refresh the parents and just say, hey, don't forget to play with your kids. Hey, don't forget to say thank you and please. And don't forget to, and I think sometimes we do forget. We get caught up in being employees. We get caught up in being parents and siblings and neighbors and everything else. And then we forget, like how vital it is that these little human beings are totally dependent upon us to guide them, to teach them, to support them, to love them. And so my job is just kind of to nudge and remind them every once in a while.
Well, I think you're right. I think sometimes we do forget that we were kids at one time and we didn't like to be bossed around. We didn't like
Right.
to not be heard. And then sometimes we wind up doing this same thing to our own children when we become adults.
Yeah, we're only using the tools we were given. You know what I mean? Like we are all products of our parents. And what James Baldwin's quote is, children never listen to their parents, but they never fail to emulate them. And it's true. We are all just byproducts of the environment in which we were raised. And hopefully, if you're lucky to have, parents that loved you and supported you, or an environment that kind of nurtured you to give you the ability to be able to give back to your children in a much more nurturing way, then that's beautiful. But if not, it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to humble yourself and realize, what, I could be a better parent. I could be a better, dad, mom, sister. We all have these amazing resources. We are one Google search away to kind of learn more and do better, from podcasts and interviews like yours and stuff like that. It gives us exposure to things to help us learn just to be better. And like Maya Angelou says, once you know better, you do better.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Now, you've been able to share this same message through a lot of different platforms. You've been, let's say, on the Steve Harvey show. You've been on, I believe, CNN. You've been on the NBC Nightly News. So, does the message change depending on the different platforms that you're on?
No, well, I have to say that my I've been on some of those programs, and my books have been some on those programs. Like I was never on the Steve Harvey
Okay.
show, but my books were featured on the Steve Harvey show.
Oh, well, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm grateful for all of those. I think the message is always the same. The cadence in which I convey it may be a little different. It's the same way that you talk to your girls is different than the way that you talk to your coworkers. It may be the exact same message, but you convey it a different way. And I'm a kid from the hood, so I always try to keep it real. I always try to be my 100% most authentic self. But I'm also wise enough to know that I need to code switch in certain places and be able to talk in a way that's relatable to the audience that I'm talking to. When I go to visit schools, my presentations for kindergartners is much different than my presentation for fifth graders, which is much different than my presentation for college students. So I may be doing the exact same message, but I'm conveying them in different ways so that it connects with the audience that I'm speaking to. But the
So
message is always the same.
where are you from?
I'm from the Bronx, baby, born and raised, New York City. First 35 years of my life, I lived in Eastchester Projects in the Bronx. So if anybody knows that, I lived in Edenwald Projects from the Bronx, and I live in California now. But no matter where I go, I will always be a kid from the Bronx. That it's in my DNA, and I'm grateful that I was raised in my opinion, the greatest city in the world, and the Bronx itself is the birthplace of hip hop, which I got the privilege to watch be conceived and nurtured and grown into the entity that it is today. And so, and that's part of what helped me find my voice and my courage to be able to express myself in the way that I see fit.
Yeah, and that had to be amazing. I mean, I have a very, very good friend who's from New York, and
Mhm.
she can just spout off hip hop history because she felt like, hey, I was there, I saw it,
That's right.
I
That's right.
experienced. And was everybody standing on the same corner when hip hop was born?
You know what? It felt that way. That's how organic it felt. It like there was like it was almost like a summer where everything changed. Like the energy and the music and the style and everything just shifted in this really beautiful way. And it was and there was this sense of inclusion, whether you loved hip hop or not. That you know the that it you felt welcome in it. You felt like you were witnessing something really powerful and beautiful because we were. I mean, how often you get to see a genre, much less a genre that is now a global powerhouse, be born right in front of you. Like that's something that I'm exceptionally grateful for.
Now I've got to ask because I'm from New Orleans, and
Okay,
we had our own version of hip hop that was born in New Orleans. But when we look at people like MC Hammer, for instance, oh my goodness, I said MC Hammer. I did not mean MC Hammer. I meant I meant Master P. Forgive me,
okay.
y'all. Don't take away my New Orleans part of it. But when I see people like Master P, who talked about, he used to sell his music out of his car,
Sure.
and for years people weren't checking for him, and then all of a sudden he blew up, and then everybody was claiming him. Do you have certain artists like that in New York? Like I saw this guy every day, and I didn't think anything of him, and all of a sudden he just blew up on us.
No, I didn't know anyone that close to the genre. I mean, you got to see LL Cool J go from nobody to somebody. You got to see
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls grow from nobody to somebody. But I didn't know anyone on that level, but it was wonderful to see, you know, hip hop
Don't
artists
get me
like
wrong, I didn't
Nas.
know Master P either.
What's that?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I didn't know Master P either. I was
I
just
get
familiar with the story.
Yeah, but to see that story of hearing these guys like Jay-Z selling mixtapes out of his trunk to going and
Yeah.
selling out the garden 10, 15, 20 years later, to be able to see that rise from it was pretty incredible. The one person who I did, and it's probably taboo to bring him up now, P. Diddy was someone who I didn't know, but I had seen frequently. He had kind of was in circles that I knew of. And he went from being this promoter who would do college places to obviously being this global phenomenon, despite the hardship that he may be going through right now. But that's another story. But living in the city, it was hard not to be just a couple of degrees separated from somebody who kind of made it big.
Yeah.
So you kind of felt like you knew them, and even though I didn't know them by name, but because you've seen their rise from 0 to 100, that you felt kind of a sense of inclusion.
Well, I kind of feel that we're watching your rise as well because you're continuing to sell books. You're continuing to affect the next generation when it comes to your message, when it comes to money management and entrepreneurship and writing. Have you met kids who said, "I want to be a writer just like you," or "I want to be a businessman just like you," or "I want to learn how you do this or that"?
I've been fortunate, honestly, yes, that more times than I can count, where children will say to me, "I hated reading until I read your books. I never thought about becoming a writer until I experienced your work." And to me, that is the ultimate sign of success for me. Like, of course, I want millions of dollars and to be able to change the life of my lifestyle of my family and loved ones. But when a child tells me that they didn't like reading until, or they never thought about becoming an author until meeting me, then that is a sense of joy and purpose that I'm extremely grateful and humbled by.
Wonderful. Well, Ty Jackson, thank you so much for sharing your story with me tonight, for spending some time with me tonight. I really enjoyed the interview. Hope we stay in touch. Please remind everybody where they can find your books.
So all of my books are available on my website, which is tyalanjackson.com. You can also get my books on Amazon. Some people are very anti-Amazon. I'm pro-Amazon. Like, they've been very good to me. So my website or on Amazon, again, just Google Ty Allen Jackson. Again, I am not hard to find.
Wonderful. Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a fabulous week, and best wishes on everything that you accomplish.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to hang out with you. It really has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You as well. Be well. Cheers.
Okay, guys, that was Arthur. He's a 3-time TEDx speaker, and he's doing some amazing things in the literary world. And I really wanted you to hear his story because of what he's accomplished when it comes to selling and promoting his books. So we're going to move on, and now we're going to bring on my next guest, Miss Crystal Ash. Uh-oh. There we go. Miss Crystal Ash, how are you? Uh-oh, you're still on mute.
Hi, Dr. Rhonda. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here with you this evening.
And I'm excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
I think we have a little bit of a delay, unfortunately, but we're going to make it work. It's going to be all right.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, once again, thank you for being on the show. Before we get started, can you tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I am an author, obviously, being here, but I'm also a professional speaker. I speak to primarily people, whether it's in high school spaces or college spaces, as well as being a mentor. I've been mentoring young people in the Birmingham area and in the state of Alabama for about over 15 years now.
Okay, so you're from Alabama. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure you can still hear me because we have a little bit of a delay. But no, you're from
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana. I live in the DC area now, so I love it when I get to meet my fellow Southerners, So now
down home girl, yes.
Yes. All right, so you just recently published your first book. You know what? I think that part of the problem there may be a little bit of feedback. Do you have 2 devices playing right now?
No, just one.
Or do you have Facebook playing in the background or anything like that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, now I don't hear it anymore, so maybe it's okay. It's all right. All right. So, what I was going to ask you, you just published your day novel. Would you call it a novel or would you call it a nonfiction?
I would call it nonfiction because I really delve into, I like to say in life, each one of us has these life-defining moments that happen in our life, right? I'm sure there are moments in your life that you can remember when you were 5 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old or 15 years old that happened to you that either shaped something inside of you or caused you to have some type of belief about something about yourself. And those moments stay with you in life. Now, one of the things that I to get people to understand is that those moments can either stay with you and take you into a bitter place, or they can make you a better. One of the in the first chapter, I talk about, the first chapter is do right by people. Something that I learned from my grandmother very early in life was to do right by people no matter how they treat you, and it taught me to have empathy for other people. And so go through a series of those different stories to be able to share with people. And at the end of each story, I share the affirmations or lessons that I gained from those moments in hopes that people can relate to those moments, but also find their own lessons in their own life that help them to become a better person.
Okay, now we are having a little bit of sound issues. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Um, if you want to maybe restart, because I think there's a problem with the connection. So if you maybe
Okay.
want to restart and then come back in, and
Okay.
don't worry, I'll still be here.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so while Crystal is gone, I'll tell you a little bit more about her book. The name of her book is Lessons from My Grandma's Table, and it has messages of healing and transformation. So what she said was, and I don't know if you caught on to it, like after each chapter, she has a certain affirmation that she shares with her readers, and which I think is an absolutely beautiful thing. So hopefully, when she gets back, we can talk about it a little bit more. And we have somebody who's watching, Deborah Shepherd, who's watching on YouTube. She says it's a wonderful book, and it sounds like a wonderful book. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it once we get her on. But for those who want to learn a little bit more about the book, you can also go to Crystal's website. And her website is crystaltash.com. It'll show up on the screen very shortly. There it is, crystaltashbooks.com. You can go to her website and get a copy of the book there. And when she's able to get back in, she'll tell us a bit more about it. But one of the reasons why she wrote the book is because she wanted to be able to write from a place of the journey to healing. And I like to say the journey to healing because sometimes we may not always be fully healed. We don't get to a place where we feel like we have it all together. There's always might be something that we're trying to learn from, or we're trying to overcome, or we're trying to heal from. And so, with that being a constant journey, we need books like this sometimes just to help encourage us in our daily journeys. So, hopefully, Krista will be back soon and she can tell us all about the book. Now, you also heard her say that she is a public speaker, and her target audience with her speaking engagements are usually young adults and teenagers. And she says she likes to give them impactful, practical, and portable messages filled with life wisdom. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why she wrote this book, My Grandma Lessons from My Grandma's Table, because I think all of us, there she is. I think all of us can think back to lessons that our grandmother gave us. That I know there are times where I can't even get dressed because a lot of times I'm thinking about something that my grandmother told me about the way I would get dressed, or the way I engage with people. I always think about those life lessons that she gave me, and so they still stick with me to this day. So that's why I was really happy to hear about your book, Lessons from My Grandma's Table. And I've just been telling the people all about you.
I hope that this is better. I closed out some tabs and hopefully the connection is
Oh,
better.
much better. It's much
Okay.
better. Yes.
So if you too many tabs running in the
you know what? I'm the same way. You should see my computer sometimes. I have 20 tabs open and I have to remind myself to close the tabs. So I'm with you. I understand that. But I was just telling the audience about your book. And if you can maybe start again and tell us a bit about Lessons from My Grandma's Table. And then you also mentioned how you had affirmations after each chapter.
Yes. So, like I was saying, I entitled the book Lessons from My Grandma's Table. It's a collection of life-defining moments that I've had in my own life where, things have happened that have shaped the way way I view the world or shape the way I interact with people and how I interact with humanity as a whole. Such as the first chapter, it's called Do Right by People. And one of the lessons that my grandmother always impressed upon me ever since I was little was do right by people no matter how they treat you, right? And so didn't matter how someone is coming across, always remember another person's humanity and always operate with empathy with those people. And so what I do is I take moments like that and I tell each story and add these affirmations and life lessons at the end to be able to help people not only I'm sharing my story and the story is very conversational. I want it to be like you're sitting around talking to your cousin or your aunt or your best friend on the porch or in the den or wherever. And so it's very conversational. There's a bit of laughter, there's a bit of, joy and things of that nature. But I want people to not read my story, but I want you to be able to relate it to your own story in your own life. What are those life-defining moments that have made you a better person? And so after each story, I offer affirmations or life lessons that can help guide people in being able to look at their own life story to pull the lessons to make them better. Because sometimes things can happen in our life that can make us bitter, and we operate from this limited space of feeling pain. And I don't think we really get the fullness our own humanity or being able to experience other people when we operate in that vein.
Sometimes do you think that operating in pain is actually comfortable because we don't know how to get out of it or we don't know what it's like to not live in pain?
Absolutely. So much so that sometimes if you think about it, if a person broke their arm or broke their foot or something like that, you adjust being in the sling or you adjust to being on the crutches, and even when you get off of those things and you're supposedly healed, you still might have a limp or you may favor that particular limb that was once broken, right? And over time a doctor will say, well, you're healed, you can operate at full motion, you can do the things that you used to do without being limited, you have full range of motion to do as you please. And because we are remembering the pain of the thing, we will limit ourselves and how far I'll let it go out and how much I trust it. And I think that puts us in a space of life of limiting ourselves from what I like to call the abundance of life, right? Like, experiencing love, experiencing joy, experiencing peace. And we limit ourselves so much so that a person may get to the end of their life and they never really had a rich, full, abundant life because they limited themselves because of the pain that they were feeling.
But playing devil's advocate, which I like to do when I have these types of interviews, is it's easy to say. It's easy for you because you have it all together, and now you're telling me while I'm trying to work through my own mess that I can live free or I can get out of it. But it's easier said than done.
Now, I will say I am far from having it all together. I will totally put that out there. But the difference is I've made a decision that I want more, right? Like I've made a decision, and it's not necessarily saying that I've made a decision to where, I'm going to go out and do all these amazing things. No, I've made a decision to love freely. I've made a decision to have joy in my life. I've made a decision to hold on to hope. Like I've literally made that decision. And once you make those decisions, you open yourself up to all the things that you're afraid of, but you won't. A lot of people desire hope, they desire to have peace. But I always tell people it's kind of like if you've ever taken a flight, right? Like if you're on a flight and they're trying to land into the airport, they can't land until the runway is clear. And if the runway isn't clear, they're going to keep circling until that runway is totally clear. And I tell people, if it's love that you desire, if it's peace that you desire, what is on your runway? What are you holding on to that you won't let go and take it off of your runway to where it can land? Because if
Yeah.
there's chaos on your runway, peace can't land. If there's hate or unforgiveness in your heart on your runway, love can't land. And so people have to identify and be able to look at what's on your runway. What are you not allowing into your life because you're choosing to hold on to the pain of whatever that hurt was in your life, whether it's chaos and you're used to that. Like you said, you become comfortable with it. And so you identify that as being normal. And it's like you can have it that you desire, that you may be afraid of, if you will let go of the thing that you're holding on to.
Wow, you just spoke a whole word, Crystal. Oh wow, I love that line where you said, "What is on your runway? On your runway?" And you're right, the plane cannot land until the runway is clear. But if you have so much on your runway, the plane can never land. I love that. Please tell me
Right.
you include that in your speaking engagements.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whenever I'm speaking to young people, I always ask them, what is the thing that you desire? And what's holding you back from that thing? And a lot of times people will say, oh, it's this external factor. Whatever this external factor is, that's the thing that's holding me back from getting the thing that I desire. What I tell them is, just because you hear no in this direction, that means that they just don't hold your yes. So make a decision to find another direction to get your yes. And that's deciding, what am I holding on to in this space that's on that particular runway.
Love it. Now, I see you have the copy of the book right behind you. Can you hold it up so we can see?
Absolutely. All right.
Is that a paper? Is that a hardback or a paperback?
So this is a hardback. It was actually gifted to me by a friend in a hardback, but my book does come in paperback.
Okay. Now, what about have you done audio or ebook as well?
I do have ebook. I do not have audio. That's something that I was actually thinking about last week. I was like, man, I should probably do audio. That would probably be cool. But I do have my book can be found on ebook, in ebook format as well for readers.
Okay, that is awesome. That my goal this year is to turn my books into audiobooks. Because you can find an entirely new audience with audiobooks. And if you're anything like me, who sometimes I'm in the middle of editing, I'm always editing. I'm editing a book today. So I'm editing. I have a full-time job. A lot of times I don't have time to just sit and open a book. So I love listening to audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks while I'm exercising, when I go on a drive, and you just never know who you're going to be able to touch if you can get that audio.
Yeah. And I thought about it because I'm a visual learner and I'm also a connect learner. So it's like hands-on and I want to see a thing, right? And so for a long time, I was like, from the audio space, I'm like, I'm not really an audio learner. So like, I don't know like how that would work. But then a few years ago, I got into listening to podcasts and I was like, I could do that. I could see how someone can learn from this space. So definitely something that I look forward to doing in the future.
Oh yes, yes. Think about it and do it, girl. Do it. Because I know I'm gonna be all in it. I'm like, oh, she did it, and I'm gonna be cheering for you, and I'm gonna buy the book. The only problem is you can't sign an audio book, so I guess we'll just have to carry around flyers or something, headshots like the actors do.
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So tell me, do you how can people reach out to you? How do people connect with you for speaking engagements? And do you sell your book at the speaking engagements?
Absolutely. I actually just had a speaking engagement this past Saturday at a college and career fair, and I was able to sell my book to the young people that were there afterwards, as well as some young at heart people as well. But most people can reach out to me via my website. It's www.crystaltash.com. That's crystaltash.com. Or they can connect with me via social media on Facebook, YouTube as well as LinkedIn. I'm simply under crystal.t.ash. So that's Crystal T Ash. And on Instagram, they can connect with me via CTA Speaks. That's CTA Speaks on Instagram.
Awesome. Now, how did we connect? I can't remember if we connected on Instagram or
we connected on, it was on LinkedIn. We connected on LinkedIn, yes.
Awesome. So thank you for answering my message, my little random message on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for reaching out.
So do you plan on writing any other books?
Absolutely. I'm actually in the process of researching for my next book. It's entitled Evolve, and it's thoughts from a recovering people pleaser. And so, one of those people who live a great deal of life, probably 39 years of my life as a people pleaser. And I'm in a space now, thanks to Jesus in Therapy, where I am no longer trafficking in that space. And so I really want to be able to share the evolution of what it looks like for a person to get out of people pleasing for people and really walking in authenticity. What I've learned is that when you are in a cycle of people pleasing, you never really tap into your authenticity and your purpose because you're always looking to cater to or the needs of another person. And in that space, the goalposts may move from time to time or every day. And it's like, okay, I'm constantly jumping through. And that can be exhausting. So I'm looking forward to releasing that book in the next year or so, to be able to help people who may be struggling with that, especially like younger people, whether they're teenagers or if they're in their early 20s, to be able to really identify that. Because one of the things that I realize is that each one of us has a gift inside of us that was placed inside of us before we even came to this earth. And it's our job to get that gift out. And if I'm constantly trying to please the people around me, or I'm constantly trying to live up to some other person's expectations about who I am as a person, I'll never actually tap into that gift and that purpose.
You just said another word. I mean, and I can say that honestly because I'm a recovering people pleaser myself, and that was to my own detriment many times, where I was affecting my health and my well-being, trying to make sure that other people were happy, and I did not get that back in return. And I had to really sit down and take a look at myself and okay, I can't keep losing out trying to help other people to win.
That's it. That's it. That's really it. Like we hide ourselves so much, because if you think about as children who are like, a lot of times people say, man, kids say the darndest things. No, kids are honest because they don't know any other way to be. I love little I call them little people, but I love them because they are so honest. Then you fast forward to our older brothers and sisters. They seemingly have no censor because they've decided, I'm no longer trying to please anyone else. And so there's this honesty factor there. And it's us in between who are struggling, trying to live up to society standards or live up to the culture of our families or our social circles. It's us who are always trying to live up to some type of expectation instead of just being ourselves and being truthful about who we are as people, and being okay with who that person is.
Amen to that. Now, when does that book due to hit the stands?
So I plan to have that ready by next year. It's one that I'm really just trying to take my time to make sure that I'm putting the right stuff, so to speak, in it, because it's one that's near and dear to my heart. One, I talk to people, particularly young people, or just people my age on a regular basis, and they're like, man, I struggle with this. I still struggle with this. When are you releasing that one? And so it's not something that I want to just throw together. I want to make sure that I'm really taking my time about what it looks like, not only to live in that space, but also to come out of that space and, the things that you learn once you come out of that space.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to that book as well. I might need to read it and pick up a few tips myself because I said I'm recovering. I'm not recovered yet.
Right, right, right. And it's an everyday process. That's why it's called the thoughts of a recovering a
Yes.
people pleaser, because I will always say it's not something that you just decide like, oh, I'm not a people pleaser anymore, and you're just done with it. No, it's literally a daily process that you get up and you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I'm going to choose not to self abandon and self betray myself by choosing me. And sometimes choosing me means I have to say no to other people, not in a malicious way, but I'm choosing not to abandon my thoughts and my feelings and who I am as a person and what I bring to this world, because I am unique in that way. And I do
Yeah.
contribute something to this world in that way.
Amen. Well, Crystal, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I thank you
Absolutely.
for all of the rules that you dropped along the way. If you can just hold up your book one more time and then
Oh,
remind us where you can find your book.
you can find my book on my website, and that's www.crystaltash.com. It's www.crystaltash.com, or you can go directly to that link, which is up crystaltashbooks.com, crystaltashbooks.com. But there's a link
One,
to that website as well on my website.
okay. And now, if people want to book you for speaking engagements, how can they find you? Same
Absolutely. They can
place?
go to my website, which is, yes, crystaltash.com. They can go to my website and click on the link that says speaker. And at the bottom, it'll show you how to tap in to get me to come out and speak to you and your organization or your group or your institution, whatever you may have.
Wonderful. Well, once again, thank you, Crystal. I enjoyed our conversation. I wish you all the best. And if you ever want to come back to the show, all you have to do is say the word.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I've definitely enjoyed having a conversation with you, Dr. Rhonda. Thank you so much for opening your platform up to authors such as myself who may not ever, get a chance to share their message with other people, but be able to have conversations like this mean the world.
Oh, thank you. That's what this platform is all about. And I consider it a service for so many independent authors who are trying to build their platforms. And that's the reason why I did it, because I knew what it was like when I first started writing and trying to get out there and trying to get exposure for my books. So if I have the opportunity to help somebody else, I'm going to continue to pay it forward. So thank you for recognizing that and acknowledging that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Same to you.
Bye bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was author Crystal Ash. She's also a speaker, and she travels the country talking to so many different groups, young adults, teenagers. And if you'd like to have her come to an organization near you, just reach out to her, and she'll be looking for you, and she will answer your call. But I want to thank you all for joining me on another episode of the Horizons Author Lounge. If you can't get enough of this type of content, I want you to join me on May 16th at 7 p.m. I am going to be joining Julia Royston of Royston Publishing, and she is going to be doing a panel discussion on Are You Ready to Be a Publisher? And I'll be joining two other amazing publishers, and we're going to be talking about um, the art of publishing and being responsible for other people's books. Because, I kind of got into the publishing game a little bit kicking and screaming because I said I didn't want to be responsible for other people's stuff. But at the same time, I still wanted to offer that opportunity for future authors to write their own books and be able to see their ideas turn into an actual book, an actual published book like this. This is Victoria Christopher Murray's book, which I'll be reading soon. But you don't know what it's like to be able to hold your own book in your hand. And until you've experienced that, you just don't understand. And I wanted more people to experience holding their own book. So I want you to join me for the this panel discussion, publishers panel. Are you ready to be a publisher? Just the information is right on the screen, so you can find out more about being a publisher and getting your books published and what goes into that process. I also want to thank the students who participated in the graduating senior, the Meet the World Image Solutions graduating senior scholarship. Somebody's going to be getting $1,000 soon, and I can't wait to see who it is. I'm not judging it because I don't want it to feel unfair. So I actually have some outside judges who are judging the essays and the applications, and I'll be announcing the winner of the essay contest in the next 2 weeks. So make sure you stay right here. Keep it locked to the Horizons Author Lounge. Also, next month, I will be interviewing all men. We are dedicating the entire month of June to men and men's health. So get to meet some new authors, some established authors. It's gonna be going on. I want you to be there for it. It's gonna be so fun, and I'm here for it. And I know I'm not trying to find a man. I already got a man. I just want to be able to give. In fact, my man's gonna be on the show on June 10th. But what I want to do is just continue to provide a platform for these authors, especially in the month of June, for male authors to share their books, promote their books, and to discuss their work. So that's all I have for tonight, guys. Once again, thank you for joining me. Join me tomorrow night on Black Authors Matter TV, which takes place on the National Black Book Festival Facebook page. We're going to be talking to 4 authors tomorrow night, so you don't want to miss that. And then I want you to join me right here next week for 2 more authors who will be meeting in the Horizons Author Lounge. So that's all I have, guys. You have a blessed evening. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.